it looks like we are live!
Yay!
So, all three of us.
Well, it's better than nothing, right? Hello! Hope you're
Yes.
doing good.
Alright, so. Assuming this works, yeah, we're just. And it looks like we are live! Waiting for everyone else to get here. Also, it sounds like my microphone still sucks, so, yeah, can everybody concur that one?
Yay!
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I don't sound overly robotic or like I'm killing people's ears with the mere sound of my voice. Anybody in the chat wanna verify me on this one? Anybody watching right now? I can switch microphones. Like, here.
No. Hello. Can't hear at all now. Oh, wow. Jeez.
That's really bad.
No. Oh.
Okay, you, the audience, get to vote at home on which voice you want me to use. Which one is less grating on your ears? This one, number one? Or this one, number two? Take your pick and see if you can protect your ears from me.
Yay.
Okay, so number two is better?
For me, at least.
Alright, OmniViewer.
Well, the other one had less of a metallic tinge to it, but it also sounded a bit kind of muffled at points.
Yeah.
Alright, so, hello, I am the life model decoy of Second Opinion, here to talk to you about all things My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And, today we're going to be looking back on the, seasons past, and, all the highs, lows, our favorites, less favorites. And, Calliope, it looks like our microphone's having trouble, so until she manages to figure that out, she's commenting on the side, so, alright, I had to teach myself how to live stream in 10 minutes because YouTube is really making things difficult with its new features. So, I hope you like the, go-to image we're going with, and, alright. I have a little format planned out here. I'm gonna give each of you some time to, say what you thought of each season we're on. Maybe not take too much time, because, yeah, the sooner we get through everyone's individual opinion, the sooner we can start going back and forth, have at it, really have some fun with this. So, and those of you in the chat on the side, if you want us to talk about any particular episodes, write them down. Any particularly good, particularly bad, make the call. Alright, first on the list, quite obviously, is Season 1. So, we'll say OmniViewer, then Daylover. And you can introduce yourselves too while you're at it, because people may as well know who's talking.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because we sound so similar, it'll be very difficult to tell us apart.
Yeah.
It's the accent, I think. That's what throws me.
Well, introduce yourself, man! The audience wants to get to know ya!
Well, for those who just came in, I am the OmniViewer. And regarding Season 1, it's kind of surprising to go back and not just see how different it was, but also hear how different it was. Like, how much the voices have changed since then. Like, I remember seeing the little retrospective they did after the finale, and Ashley Ball even said that Applejack's voice started out much higher than it eventually wound up, and you go back and you think, wow, she does sound like a completely different character. So, I mean, that's like the first thing that I think of when I go back. But also just like, I mean, it was the start of something, obviously. And yeah, it's bleh. My thoughts are getting all jumbled all at once. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Basically, I would say season 1, it was definitely a strong start. I mean, it had to be. Otherwise, how would it have caught on the way it did? But, I mean, it wasn't perfect, of course. You can tell the animation, compared to where it went to in later seasons, they clearly were just starting out, even though it was still one of the best examples of Flash animation out there at the time. But yeah, otherwise, always nice to go back and see where it all began.
Alright. Indeed it is. Sometimes surprising, like, yeah, one season later you're like, but we already did that. They took it to a bigger level, didn't they? And then 5 seasons later you're like, holy heck, this is like new.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. How about you, Day?
Hello, everybody. Dale over here. And I really must admit I have the same feeling as Omni. It's a little odd to go back and see the earlier episodes. I definitely the animation have become better, but yeah, as Omni said, it was one of the best things we have seen out there for cartoons and animation at that point. I will agree with the sound. The sounds of the characters have been different a lot. But yeah, especially I would really like the first 2 episodes, and going back and looking at the 2 first episodes, the where Twilight finds the spark and gets this revelation and stuff like that. You just feel like this is the beginning of like her becoming, more than yeah, we all wanted, or how to say that. And of course, there's also the other great episodes like Window Wrap Up that we all sing when we get over 1,000 subscribers. So I think like that's really fun to look back to and have. And I know like there's one of Second's episodes that he likes too, Sonic Rainboom, and all of these good episodes, and also episodes that we don't agree upon that's not that good for me and good for Second. So I think like it was especially fun to go back and watch some of the episodes again, especially Party of One. Like that is so grim episode. Actually, when I saw that again here a couple of days ago, I was just like, what? There's actually a lot of stuff here that I didn't think about, and now later on you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense of all of it. But yeah, as Omni said, like this was the start of something really nice, and we can all enjoy in this fandom. I think it's really special.
Thinking back to it, I think part of what clicked with me, certainly, and probably with a lot of other people, is that it wasn't cynical. Like, there were so many shows around at that point where it seemed like that, I mean, like there was just so much cynicism around it that you almost kind of felt like, as you watched it, you think, why do these characters even hang around each other? They're clearly enemies, but like I think it was this weird trend that you saw in certain Cartoon Network shows that what the relationship was, the relationship they called friendship was one character constantly abused the other one and the other one just took it. But this was something that did away with that. It wasn't like so saccharine that it came across the way girls' cartoons came across in the past, as we all know how horrible those could be.
Yeah.
But it still set up things in a way that it made sense these characters would be together, still have their conflicts, but not have it drive them apart, certainly. Or if it did, it would always come back around to them making up. And it was that lack of cynicism and the sincerity of it all that I think really resonated. Certainly with me.
Yeah, it was almost Miyazaki-ish that way. Like it's something that knew what the world is like and yet still dared to have its heart on its sleeve a little bit and say, well, I mean, not even that, because I mean, it also wasn't afraid to bring up, not necessarily be cynical, but to show cynicism or show that, just how not shy away from how people act in different scenarios, and then, and with the, big-hearted and optimistic notion that, you can still have joy and good feeling and friendship within that. And then, okay, and as Calliope says on the side, I'll definitely be including her because she was supposed to be here. Her microphone seems to have given her a bum steer, but she says, I think the best thing that Season 1 did was establish the cross-demographic appeal. They took a property that was seen as little girls' stuff and made a show that appealed to all ages and genders. It's always nice when a show comes out that parents can watch with their kids and both sides enjoy it. And that's true, and I've kind of said, like, because everybody so often, like, adult stuff turns out to mean pop culture references to people, or dirty jokes, or some stuff. I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that, well, me sitting by myself, philosophizing to myself for hours on end, that they're on a level that quality is quality. Like, you can have a primary audience, but, okay, like that, that's more a question of how simple or complicated you are, or, like, what your primary focus is. Like, yeah, if you have something that's simpler, something that's focusing on simpler issues or more digestible issues, then yeah, it might be because you primarily want someone really young to watch it. But okay, Barney the Dinosaur falls under that umbrella. So does My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
If you do something well enough that, okay, whatever your appeal is, I always think you can take it to a masterpiece level.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing is, but yeah, Season 1 in particular, with, I mean, well, some people say that, like, in hindsight, okay, well, it was the season where we had to warm up, where, or it wasn't sure what it was doing, like, there were sort of odd touches, and to that I always say, like, what, you mean the creativity?
Yeah.
I don't know, it takes it on the chin a lot for the season that undeniably started the brony trend, like, well, the other ones would have, the other ones are better, well, we can speculate, but we won't know that for sure, because, I mean, Season 1 really did shake up the mold a little bit. It was Lauren and her team of Powerpuff Girl vets, kind of, and other fairly distinguished writers. A couple newbies they were trying out too, but yeah, just kind of coming together and trying to just really bring as much fun and relatability as they possibly could to this. And in fact, like, I mean, I'm notoriously, well, someone who notoriously grew weary of some of the later seasons' antics. Like, I thought they grew, like, in their own way, a little more cynical, phoned in, whatever. Like, tell me I was cynical of them to a fault. But there was a point where I got, like, I got so tired of people saying, well, I guess the newest season was my favorite because it's the only one I watched all the episodes through. Like, yeah, probably because just happens to be the season at the point where you decided you were a full-blooded fan. So anyway, though, like, I decided, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna go back and look up all the fan favorite polls, ratings, everything, just like in their own words, I'm gonna show them which season had the most fan favorites and the fewest hated ones. I'll show them once and for all that season 2 was the best one, my perennial favorite. And guess which one actually did win?
Season 1.
Yeah, to my surprise, like I was like, okay, well,
It also
season
has
2
some great morals, though.
isn't tallying up quite as many great ones. Well, I'll come back to it later, or
Mhm.
point that out later. But yeah, like season 1, unambiguously more like season 2 was tied with one or two other ones. Season 1 unambiguously had the most fan favorites, the fewest hated ones. Like people do seem to unambiguously hate Owl's Well That Ends Well, but like otherwise, like personally, I think green isn't the color should be on the hated list. But I mean, there are plenty of, like you'll find someone who has an offhand hatred of this episode or that episode. I think I put one other one like on the semi-hated list, like the Crusaders, the Cutie Mark Crusaders one. But I mean, like that just wasn't consistent enough. And like, yeah, all the other ones had more disliked episodes and fewer fan favorites. And at first I was like, okay, there must be some kind of mistake here. The more I thought about it, though, it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think part of the reason season 1 was able to go the way it did, let's not forget, back then, what we now call Discovery Family was the Hub network, and Hub was brand new. And new channels have a tendency to go for those more kind of, what you might call risky kind of proposals for a show. Because it's brand new, they got to get attention somehow. So, I mean, not that I would necessarily think making a cartoon based on a toy line would be a risk in that regard, but the way in which they would do it, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, you do get those kind of stories that go in sort of the extra mile in a lot of ways. And as far as having a bad episode, every season of every show has at least one bad episode. So
Oh, yeah.
season 1 doesn't really stand out in that regard.
Mm.
Kinda, sorta.
No.
I mean, I don't know if I found an episode from Avatar that I disliked.
Oh, really? I have a couple.
I like The Great Divide
That I
fine,
don't
I think
like.
it takes it on the chin a little too much. I thought Steven Universe might end up in that book too, but then Onion Gang happened.
And then okay, yeah. Oh wow, yeah. Well, all fandoms or all seasons and shows have their mistake, or I will not call them mistakes, but bad episodes.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm alone on that. I don't know. Gang felt just plain incompetent in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I did like the Beach City episodes. They tend to take it on the chin, and I, to an extent, think that's just because the gem episodes are so consistently good, and not necessarily because it's fair. But I mean, well, no. But like, it's true that all shows do have episodes that let viewers down in some way, or at least let enough viewers down in some way. Season 1, though, like, I mean, I'll still side with season 2. There are a couple episodes there I think are underrated, or also unfairly taken on the chin. But I mean, yeah, Lauren did admit that was, like, because they kept, kind of jerking her chain on whether they were, they were ready for her to do the, finale she had in mind. She was like, I mean, she thought it was going to be shorter lived. She was like, well, okay, let's kind of just tread water maybe for season 2. We have all these characters, we have this world, and I mean, I might again argue that, well, the one-off episodes ended up being, I don't know if the show ever ended up doing anything more consistently successful than that, just because changing visions and stuff. But I mean, no, season 1, like, they did have their vision for it, just like the story of the friends growing into being the elements of harmony, and
Yeah.
the Nightmare Moon and the Gala and all of that. And like you think about the fan favorite memes and stuff, that like the stuff that legit caught on, 20% cooler, cupcakes, Pinkamena, Diane, Piacus, I'd like to be a tree. Every single thing I just said happened in season 1.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
But then, of course, Discord happened in season 2. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah, well, Discord is not a meme. He's a
Nah,
Discord,
well,
but
and he's also a meme.
yeah.
No, just kidding.
Some thoughts about him, but we'll get to that. So, okay, from the chat, the one I saw that people wanted to talk about was, surprisingly, Griffin the Brush Off is the title
Okay.
I saw.
I actually were thinking like the way we are talking about all of this actually remind me of the episode the best night ever, where everybody wants it their way and it just goes wrong. And then it goes good at the end. But which one did you say?
Crystal Wing 100, so Crystal Wing 101, said that Griffin the Brush Off was their favorite episode and the one that got them into the fandom.
Oh wow! Okay.
So,
Well, I think it's a good episode, but it's not one of my favorites. I'm sorry.
the Griffin one.
No, I am sorry.
Yeah, well, okay, I guess I'll be the one to step up for that episode, Connor, because I think it's one of, if not the best bullying episode the show did.
Oh well, yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, hey, but also I think Gilda's a little underrated. Like a lot of people said, oh, nice punk aesthetics speak, but I mean I think it kind of fits with the try-hard nature of that kind of bully, like somebody who, as the song goes, is watching the band like they can't relax. But like someone who is compensating a little bit and who is like kind of doubling down on guarding their friends, loving the thought of being the in crowd. I mean, and well, heck, we got an episode later on that was like, if you have a bully, you should never, ever, ever, and I quote, fight back. That is you, the bully. Please don't try to censor us, parents. I mean,
and then this handles that a little better.
Griffin the Brush Off also went with the idea of Pinky not fighting back, certainly, but didn't present it in a heavy-handed way.
Yeah, well, that, and I mean, it also kind of had the guts to say that, look, sometimes there's somebody who you're just better off moving away from. You need to know who the people worth being loyal to are. For Rainbow Dash. But I mean, it's actually, I kind of think it's possibly Rainbow Dash's, well, no, she's had so many good moments it can't be, but it's one of her finest hours. Like like even the animation on that scene, like with where Rainbow Dash finally stands up to Gilda. Well, heck, finally she realizes that Gilda's messing with her in the first place, and like we have that bit where Gilda's like trying to turn it back to Pinkie Pie, like, well, no, Josh, it was her, right? She wanted to make me look bad. She and Rainbow, as Pinkie's saying, no, I was just trying to make you feel bad. Like we have that shot of Rainbow pushing mostly just her head into frame in front of Pinkie, which kind of reads like, you're not dealing with her, you're dealing with me. You tried to pick on my friends, and which it's like, because I mean, from these, I don't know, tomboy characters, I don't know if we get to see them portrayed as noble in that kind of way all that much. It's usually more just like how they're awesome, tough. They're I'm me and proud.
Hmm.
You didn't get that the first time.
I do actually think it's interesting in that episode how Gilda basically does herself in.
Mm.
Like it's sort of showing the idea that you know you don't. It's showing you don't need to fight back because eventually these people are going to be hoisted by their own petard. I mean, granted, I know in the real world that's not always a guarantee, but I mean, all it takes is just one slip up sometimes.
Which, I mean,
Or,
like, in this case, granted, like the friendly approach, the passive approach, it was enough to solve the problem. I don't know if it's necessarily because this episode is like pro passive approach so much as it just happens to be about a scenario that like doesn't demand something other than that. Like, I mean, it does strike me as an episode that says, okay, look, know where to put your foot down a little bit, both with Rainbow and with Twilight kind of unintentionally gaslighting Pinky. Because, like, the episode establishes that, yeah, at the end, Twilight owes Pinky an apology there, and, you need to, if you're Pinky in that scenario, you need to be able to say, like, okay, I'm sticking to my guns on this one, I know right from wrong.
well, like I said, it's not heavy-handed.
No. And they got the 80s Gilda, whatever, right on the nose as well.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an episode I've come back to a couple of times, just like on, for good depictions of how everyone operates. Like, I mean, the prank thing was a bit of a, it was a lightweight portion, so it's why it's, I mean, I made a top 50 list, and I briefly considered ripping the brush off for it, but then the last few episodes happened, so, yeah, it got shoved out. But I mean, like, I would say, but yeah, stuff like, Twilight, kind of reading and ahhing as Pinky, like, is talking to her about how great Rainbow Dash is, and Rainbow trying to just kind of avoid Pinky when she'd rather not turn her down, like, say to her face, look, you're annoying, beat it, but, then, ultimately realizing she's more open to this than she thought she'd be, and just all of the above. I mean, it's, in a lot of ways, a good depiction of several characters.
So it looks like in the chat, Calliope just suggested everyone should say which episode got them into the fandom.
Oh.
I like that idea. I do have one, but
you're not going to like my answer.
So, well, I mean, okay, like, got you into the fandom is different than became your favorite episode. Just
yes. Maybe it does for you.
All right,
yeah,
fair
you
enough.
can take
So
it
yeah,
first.
so I do know what Day's answer is going to be. So lay it
Oh,
on us.
Sure. Mystical, magical. How to say that?
The magical mystery cure.
Yeah, and I know what everybody's going to be like. Oh, she became a Alacorn. Oh, it's boo and everything. But yeah,
well, not everybody, just the second opinions of the world.
yeah,
Those darn cynics, them.
I just enjoy all of the music numbers, and I think it has such a great feeling, and I can't still not help tear up when Celestia sings to Twilight. I still cry when it happens. And Second knows this. So, no, stop. No, I'm not going to cry on live stream with you.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to no, but yeah, also like how far Twilight have come and all of this good stuff with the separate characters, how they're helping each other, and I actually am one of the ones that likes the what's that called, the thing with the eyes where they see like all of the good things that they have done for each other, and helping and being friends. A true friend is also one of my favorite songs from actually the whole show. So yeah, I must admit, like, that is the episode that got me to be a full-blown brony. First I was a brony, but this episode made me realize, yes, this is a place that I want to be. This is something that I want to do, make artwork for, and all of this good stuff. And I wore a Alicorn before I saw the episodes, just to make it clear, so people don't be like, oh, you're only liking it because she became an Alicorn and you're an Alicorn. But yeah, it had nothing to do with that.
Really?
Nope.
Really? Day is an alicorn and proud.
Yeah.
Not ashamed to spread those wings.
Yeah, but I can only fly when I'm near second. The only powers that I have is I'm fireproof and I can teleport.
Don't go
make
restraining
artwork.
yourself in to make the
That is
haters happy.
well,
Not afraid
artwork
to be
and that's it. Artwork and that's it. But you know what you can do with artwork if you were like breaking the fourth wall and stuff like that. As I sometimes maybe also can. Nah, I can't.
Okay, I have no idea what you're implying there, so I'll just assume all cocky like that it's perfectly safe and I need not worry about it. So then, Omni, how about you? What got you into the show? This episode?
I don't really know if it was a specific episode. I just heard about this whole phenomenon that was going on of this larger audience beyond the intended one liking this latest incarnation of My Little Pony. So I just thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And I don't really think it was a specific episode that got me truly hooked. I think it was more just I woke up one morning and realized, oh, I like it. And I'm going to make videos on it. I guess I'm a fan now. So
wow, okay.
It was a gradual process for me.
It's also interesting, like the male, it's more males in the fandom than females. I also think like that's a little funny.
Quote an article I read, we gotta get our greasy fingerprints all over everything today.
Yes. That's true.
Alright, now Calliope said the episode that got her hooked was Stairmaster, and I have absolutely gotta hear this one. Like,
okay.
To me, that was all a solid, good, not great episode, and I think that makes me qualify as one of its bigger fans. So I absolutely want to hear why. If you could type that in the chat, Calliope.
And we can take seconds while we wait.
Mm-hmm. Let's
Yeah.
do a second opinion.
I'll do a second opinion.
Alright, my episode that got me into it was not the first one I saw. The first one I saw was Sweet and Elite, which actually might be growing on me. I think it still has legit my favorite song in all of MLP, but the episode that got me into it was May the Best Pet Win.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Enter said was one of the worst at up years of going on and on about how it's what did he say? Totes an example of just screwing around and not caring because he decided he doesn't like Charlotte Fullerton, and he I accuse that episode of it. I guess because it has a one after another sort of plot, watching animals do different events. But heck, that episode had everything. It had the humor. It had Rainbow Dash's character arc over time. It had showing like both sides of her, how obnoxious and egotistical she can be, and not in like a generically cartoonish, egotistical sort of way, and like an actual I deserve the best pet, you'd better be worthy of me kind of way. And also her stunningly noble qualities with, once she realizes that she's been shortchanging this tortoise, actually both, understanding him and giving him the credit he deserves. Like,
Mm.
it was fun, funny. It had the timing, it had the energy, it had the enthusiasm, it had the sweet side, it had the hard slice of life side. I'm just gonna keep going on and on and on here because
It also had giant eels in a canyon.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, it had the animation, it had the
Yeah, that's true.
showcase the show's humor.
And it had the best pet ever. Go Tank.
Tank the Flying Tortoise.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the second kaiju reference in the show, if it was meant to reference Gamera somehow.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Well, far out, I guess.
that would surprisingly make sense.
Mm.
Kind of surprised I never saw anyone in the fandom do like a PMV hell thing with clips of Tank flying to the Gamera theme song.
Yeah. We should make that. Fandom, you know what to do.
Shit. Those of you who don't know, Gamera was originally the poor man's Godzilla, and then they started doing him, I guess, well enough so that people, like, he started to pick up a fan base in his own right.
Mm.
He was more aimed at kids originally, and then they made these 3 movies in the 90s that were phenomenal. Like, the Dark Knight trilogy is to Batman, those movies are to Gamera. But that's a bit off topic. So.
But something I was also thinking about, like, that surprised me was that the age group of the fandom, it's more like, 18 plus and to like whatever age the manliest broniest, I forgot how old he is. More older in the fandom, quote unquote.
Well, that gets back to what Second said. Quality is quality.
Yeah, that's true. It just gets everybody. And
yeah, I mean, like, it certainly was considered. I think the fact that it attracted older fans and male fans in particular was seen more as anomalous at first, but no one really stopped to think that maybe it was because there was actually some quality to be seen here.
And also the thing with us being born from 4chan, the brony stuff. It's a little weird to think about.
Oh, so Calliope answered about what Stairmaster did for her.
Yay, that's it.
Hi. I love G1 MLP, and I had been really disappointed in G3, so when G4 started, I wasn't interested in it. But then I saw Stairmaster by chance, and I was so impressed with what they did with it. One of the biggest...
Yeah, that's continuing it.
Okay, well, one of the biggest issues with little girls' shows is the lack of stakes, and Stairmaster showed very clearly the risk and danger of being caught by the cockatrice, and boy, and that's like, that's actually another thing I really appreciated early on in seasons like this, because, they're like, how you say, it wasn't afraid to at least, like, imply serious consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, the morals have definitely, they were really good at, right from the bat. It has become a little bit more, what is that, safe morals now? Or how to say that?
Perhaps, but I mean, like, it also, well, another way it had an edge, like, wasn't necessarily safe, is that, I mean, I think this is virtually forgotten now, but yeah, starting out, there was some debate over legitimately how old the main 6 were, because, people, like, it was kind of hard to tell. It seemed like they were simultaneously treated like kids and grown-ups at the same time, and like some people, the people who said they were adults, almost had like this need for them to be kids. Can't be having their own business and facing dangers and be expected to do adult work and stuff like that. And like, what you realize that the idea of a teenager is a pretty modern concept, like especially for a show that's supposed to have so many old world aspects to it. Like, I mean, it did in many ways seem to be kind of a growing up and into your own sort of a show that you know, like, okay, it's, you're going to be kids, you're going to have those emotional issues, but kind of that, also that Spielbergian, sometimes the real world comes knocking, and
Mm.
it's, like with the cockatrice, that I guess what Stairmaster puts up almost kind of heavily is that Fluttershy, the Crusaders very clearly see her as an adult, and she is very clearly kind of naive and somewhat like even a little in the way Pinky is in Baby Cakes, just to less of an extent. Like she tries to get them to play the shut up game, and just thinks that they're gonna have tea parties, and they do hammer in they'll be little angels a little bit, but what can you say though? Like, even though it's all very somebody who's just learning how to take care of themselves on their own, suddenly responsible for 3 kids, like her tone totally changes at the end because like she realizes that the cockatrice coming after them, they need an adult, and she's the only one in sight, the closest thing in sight.
And as a result, she winds up winning a staring contest with a creature that turns you into stone by looking at you. So
Yeah, that's true.
Move over, Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Calliope added a little to her explanation, I believe.
Okay. Also, it featured a quiet introvert who won the kids' respect for her skills and responsibility, not being stereotypically extroverted and heroic. That's true. Like one of the show praised for early on, idiosyncratic characters inserted into otherwise predictable stories. Like they don't have to follow the familiar beats and like quote unquote come into their own by being extroverted. Sometimes they can, if it makes more sense for them to win in a Fluttershy sort of way, or to learn a Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, whoever sort of a lesson, that's what would happen. MLP did not have a history of good musical numbers at the time, but Hush Now, Quiet Now was a lot of fun. Hush Now, Quiet Now really slaps, yeah. Like, and that was one of my favorite Sweetie Belle moments too. Like, I wish they kept that as her trait a little bit. Sweetie Belle, I wish they'd pick just about anyone but her to be the one who, like, couldn't stay that way because she had to grow up, because, like, her first Sweetie Belle personality was easily my favorite of, well, maybe not easily, Sweetie Belle was pretty great, but yeah, was my favorite of the 3 Crusaders, and, like, reminded me of, like, a relative I have who's, like, perpetually just, like, happy-go-lucky in that sort of a way, even if, she's harmlessly a brat at points, but, so yeah, love that, so, I don't know, okay, it's not my moment, I'll stop commentating Calliope's review. Plus, child characters are hard to write, so I was impressed that the CMC hit the right balance between annoying and entertaining, and, well, geez, I guess I got to that before I got to it. And I love how they don't in any way fall for the shut-up game.
Yeah.
I lose, me too, me 3. Okay. Anyone else? Season 1 episodes that we could talk about?
Woo!
Does anybody else have one?
Thinking. Like, the one that might be I certainly think of one of the more controversial ones, at least back then, being Over a Barrel.
Oh, yeah.
That's because, like, people broke into chorus of, oh, that is kind of like Avatar and stuff.
Kind of that, kind of people thinking that it was, like, considering it was trying to go for historical metaphor, people saying it was sanitized. But I mean, like, how heavy do you expect this thing to go?
Yeah. How bad can you be at an episode whose moral is share and care?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it kind of sounds like it takes it on the chin from both sides of the spectrum that way, then, like, to sanitize / to,
but who haven't been
preachy, like, oh, you want to give us another politically correct moral or whatever everybody's mad about these days. Yeah, that's like every story for a while there, every story with a reference to Native Americans was trying to be Avatar all over again.
But who haven't tried to have like taken upon too much responsibility and working themselves to the bone? If they haven't tried that, I think they should try that.
So, Over a Barrel's the one with the buffalo and.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the two up, didn't I?
I remember. I actually remember like that was the first one I made a review on my channel, and I remember addressing something that people I think they misinterpreted it and therefore got it completely wrong. I remember some people saying that they thought making the distinction of ponies against buffalo was somehow racist because it was implied we're completely different. But
they're going to be Indians and
but if you actually look at history, the equine invading the land of the buffalo is almost exactly what happened, because there hadn't been horses on the North American continent for a very long time by that point. They were brought over. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right. See, and that's how they worked it out. So their equines are so much better than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think like so. The only controversial thing I think is Pinky and the dress dancing as the where's that showgirl? What I can call it?
Okay, well, attempting to say something that isn't just destined and maybe deservingly so to get me accused of just hearing or seeing what I want to hear and see, like what was it? The Cutie Map, I think, was one that gets a lot of praise for being quote-unquote ambitious, and like that. I don't know if that was one I ever necessarily agreed with, because, okay, like, define ambitious. Is there anybody on the planet who is inclined to side against what Cutie Map's message is? Like, don't follow cults or communism or conformity or giving up and freedom forever and be yourself and blah blah.
Well, I mean that depends on if you've been brainwashed or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, I mean,
or if you don't have any other choice.
Yeah, I mean, just like as a talking point, we have see me, feel me, know me before it propping itself up as the meaningful message because it repeated till kingdom come, like, you can't have bad without the good. You can't have dark without the light. Like, Over a Barrel, that's one that people will and do, like, want to argue on a little bit, almost step into even, like, predisposed to argue that, like, being willing to tackle that, I think, is a little more what ambition looks like, and something that is more inclined to potentially do some good, to push kind of an actual, like, a moral that is needed.
And we all wish that wars could be ended so easily just with pie.
Yeah, that
would be great.
Was lighthearted goofiness. That was the one cheese ball thing. But you know what? Heck, Over a Barrel, like that was right when green isn't your color. Like, had me wondering if I'd end up tapping out at some point afterwards, because green isn't your color feels like such a phoned in, hey, let's watch Fluttershy make faces at the camera and be cute for.
I liked that. It was so actually terrible.
I mean, like, I don't know, the characters are more spot on themselves in episodes that people actually agree with me are boring and pointless, like like it's your service or whatever, but I mean, that almost, like, makes me even more inclined to dislike it, like, all dressed up and nowhere to go, or not willing to go anywhere, like, let's like, delay it. It's suited for success, but instead of telling the story, let's delay going anywhere, so Fluttershy can be cute for eons on end, and then run into the moral at the end.
That's
yeah. If we're also looking for other episodes to talk about from season 1, one that might jump to mind is a Dog and Pony show. That gave
Oh
us
no!
the David Bowie reference.
No! I hate that episode.
Oh, what's wrong with Dog and Pony show? It was
You know what's
technically-
funny? You know what's I have with that.
I don't remember.
I don't know what
Oh.
I started.
I mean, it was technically the best thing Spike was in for.
Oh yeah, that's
starring
true. I will give it that.
in
Sure,
seasons on end.
I'll give it that. Sure.
Mm,
Wow.
I mean,
Okay, go. Somebody positive first.
I don't know. Maybe we should jump over it if it's that big of a deal.
Well, like I just like at one point the dogs grains their nails to Rarity's fur, like against her fur, and touches her, and I'm just like, it makes my skin crawl. I don't know what it is, and I'm just like, oh, every time I see it, I just those nails that are filthy and cricket, and you're just like thinking about like an old man touching like
Brown
part of
Day Lovers Response.
no. I could think of worse things, but sure, that's one of them. Old nails, yeah. That's not a nice image.
I think maybe the very first episode, Friendship is Magic, deserves a little more than it gets.
Mm.
Like, that kicked things off. I mean, like, every time, like, no matter what I give it credit for, how good I say it was, people don't fight me. They say, oh, well, it was the first one, so it was supposed to do that. I'm like, okay, here's another time the moral is that quality is quality. Like, it does not have to do anything. Like, a starting point, that's a legitimate kind of story to tell. That it can be done well, it can be done poorly, and I think it killed it, honestly. Like, Twilight, I think Friendship is a waste of time, Twilight. I mean, well, okay, notice this is the only episode we see her that way, like, present tense, and I remember it being like one of the foremost images of her, one of the most prominent notions at front and center, at least until, like, season 3 with Magical Mystery Cure. Because I think they did it so well. Like, I totally relate to that Twilight, just, like, not somebody who's, like, what, the Ebenezer Scrooge of Friendship instead of Christmas, just like someone who would rather not, like, not someone who's tactless, not someone who's mean, not someone who is even really unreasonable, but just like doesn't mind passing it up when they can, passing up invitations and stuff. And I mean, I guess maybe it's not perfect, like, because of how they having to make that the focal point for the whole episode. I mean, I'm sure there's some point of dialogue here and here where it got maybe here or there where it got a little ham-handed, but I mean, I don't know. I'd really like watching that and the ways they come up with to kind of work her out of it in spite of herself, or humorously force it on her a little bit. What Applejack, when Twilight tries to do the whole overly formal introduction, Applejack's not having any, and she grabs Twilight's hook right away and starts shaking it. Like, that's still one of my favorite Applejack moments.
That's true.
How Twilight's able to still be clever, use reverse psychology with Rainbow Dash. Like, Twilight, isn't just the episode beat stick until she figures out that friendship is magic.
That's true.
One of these days I will do a more eloquent review on, everything.
I sometimes wonder if the reason people aren't as keen on the first episode as they were before is because since then we've learned more that it was supposed to be a much longer story, like it was supposed to be spread out more over the season. So maybe it's coming from, well, yeah, it's good, but we could have had this, which, I mean, that isn't necessarily fair.
Well, it's always like we can have something that's better, but I really enjoyed the first episode, and rewatching it again, like try to rewatch it again after you're done with the episodes and not be teary with like Twilight getting the spark and everything. You just like know it's the start of everything, as I said, the start of this. And for going back a little bit, Dog and a Pony Show, I like rarity in that. And it can have that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for like being
showing
so
up slightly after we say
negative
these
on
things.
that.
Yeah, there's some kind of discrepancy. Interesting conversation going on there. I hope I didn't put Griffin the brush off too long. Remember, Crystal Wing gave up and split. But actually, another I never found any backlash whatsoever to the first episode from when it aired, or even from season 1 at all. I do notice it when other two-parters started showing up, and it might be the same sequelitis that allowed the Die Hard 3 video cover to be slapped with a quote, "The best Die Hard yet!" Or Home Alone, "The best Home Alone yet!" Like, Bigger has a very temporary but a very definite appeal. Like, I mean, but yeah, well, this one has John Delancey as Discord. The stakes are so much bigger. The bad guy is so much bigger. How can Nightmare Moon compete with that? And I mean, honestly, like, you go back and compare them now. The first one, or the second one, its appeal is sheer razzle-dazzle, but I mean, it almost needs that because the writing is almost sloppy.
I don't think it's sloppy. I think like there's a good moral, and they are put in the situations where, like, for example, Applejack saves Twilight, and they're going through all of that good stuff with Nightmare Moon, and
that's the second one. The first one, that's the first one. The one with Discord, I think, is sloppy.
Oh, you think the one with Discord is sloppy?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
You know, like the
But I like Discord, but yeah,
well, I mean, there's like so much dazzle to it, but I mean, like the plotting that I think, like, I mean, and even when I pointed it out, like the reactions I got, it seemed like they weren't unaware of it. They just really wanted that to be okay. And, I mean, and not even
where Discord actually ends on season 1.
Season 2.
Now we're talking.
Well, what I'm saying is that I think season 1 takes it on the chin because, like, when people say it's been one up, it seems like they mean just like not writing quality, but like scale.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will say, yeah, that's definitely true, yeah. I guess.
That's definitely true, I guess.
Well, like, I am not, with me, I just sit down and watch the episode, and if I like it, it doesn't matter if it was, like, good quality writing, if the episode was good.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? I apologize, I'm weird.
Yeah, well, like, in really, really hindsight, maybe I would have been more palatable to some people if I would have explained that, like, taking points off, it's not because I'm, like, looking for, trying to stay ahead on reasons not to like the episode at all. It's like I'm always thinking about what my all-time favorites are and what, like, how far up the list you get or don't get, and just all of the above.
Yeah. That's good.
Anyway, though. Okay, there's a lot of static.
I think the fact that it attracted older fans and male.
Be okay.
Okay. Need to refocus my software, but all right.
Mhm. Anything else?
Okay, well, what can we say about season 1?
Well, I think we said more or less
Okay, are we done talking about season 1 here?
For now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
about our season 1 discussion. Moving on to season 2. Any episode requests?
Well, while we're waiting for requests, let's
Ooh.
see.
What can we say about season 2?
Yeah. Mm.
Well, I mean, even though we just spent a little bit of time with the overall idea being repeated that season 2 isn't as strong as season 1, and all the same, I wouldn't say it was very much worse, because that's sort of the thing that showed the show had staying power. It wasn't just a one season anomaly that was not going to last.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I pointed out why it might be weaker, but yeah, season 2 is my favorite season.
Aw.
I mean, yeah, Lauren admitted that the idea coming in was, okay, let's tread water, explore the world, tell these, make any story growth we do just on a level of the main characters and all that. I don't think that necessarily played against it, because, even though season 1 had more of an arc, and even though Lauren had, this, I guess, biggest arc of all planned, as is, season 1, it was still mostly what season 2 was doing, growing the world through the one-off episodes, and I don't know if any other season ever pushed past that concept all that much, maybe season 4, but season 4 to me was just such a slow starter that, even though it definitely hit high gear and became one of my favorites, I still think just season 2 just so consistently, just getting into, the most of what could be done with this concept that, by a nose, it might still clock in as my favorite.
And it introduced so much more of what would define the show. Things like Daring Do and the Flim Flam brothers and their whole routine. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It was also you could almost say the Daring Do episode, Read It and Weep, was the first time the show fully acknowledged, or at least started to acknowledge, that it had gained a fandom far beyond what it initially thought it would.
Shit.
By accident or design, who knows?
Yeah.
Possibly. Although, I will say, that episode goes kind of on the. I have to. It's been a while, but the one reason, what I remember being the one reason it maybe doesn't clock in as one of my all-time favorites was because it's real on the nose with the reading itself being. Everybody loves a good book. Reading is wonderful. I like to read. Does that make me an egghead? Now, on the other hand, what I love about the episode is how it, for long stretches goes for carrying itself purely on Rainbow Dash's charisma and succeeds. Her having to entertain us with the story of how she's in the hospital desperate for something to do. And works, and then just, I don't know. Rainbow Dash, still my favorite, and for, at least half the show, I considered her a can't-miss character. That first half, just, seemed like she didn't do anything half speed, which made sense.
Well,
Yeah.
I also agree, season 2 is definitely up there, and I think, it continued as it should. I think, there's a lot of good episodes, And I can see why it's Second's favorite season, with all of the episodes he likes in it.
I mean,
And go ahead.
I guess if there's a point to tip the scales over the other one, for me, because it's generally pretty popular. And actually, it's kind of funny. I almost even. I don't know if I should do this to myself, trying to say it's my favorite, but I think the people who say, Old School was better and Season 2 was the best, I think might have had a little bit of a sequelitis effect themselves, like, oh, well, this one has Discord bigger and better, so it's almost ironic. They're like, we didn't fall for the sequelitis effect in Seasons 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We say 2 was the best, not 1, which was just the beginning that Lauren came at, was the most controlling and arguably the most enthusiastic for. But like I said, I'll stick by Season 2, and part of that, I think, is some of its episodes that are considered, I guess, points against it that I just really don't agree. I think that it's almost where the willingness to be real and to, embrace the times where life can get mean, where it almost was a little bit too much for some of the bronies. Ne'er-do-well, Main 6 were too mean. Putting your hoof down, Fluttershy was too mean. Which, My Little Pony totally just was willing to go to the same place Family Guy did with Meg Griffin going to jail with it. Everybody's whipping girls so much, it felt good to actually do some of the whipping, and did it better than Family Guy did, because it was written by people who are capable of creating characters going through that kind of an emotional arc.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Family Guy has succeeded at that sometimes, but Pudge remains. I think that those episodes were very willing to get real. I think, anything did stop them from being great, and maybe I would argue it was just part of the episodes where they phoned in stuff like, hey, let's really lean on Angel Bunny being a jerko, or hey, let's really pass the time with Rainbow Dash doing these corny, hey, I've lost my head this much sort of game. Hey, people are falling to their death in a balloon. Yeah, let me finish writing this autograph first.
But actually something I was also thinking about, already here you can see the animation also a little bit better. I think Canterlot Wedding were one of the more detailed ones, if I'm not mistaken.
In a lot of ways. Animation, well, to me, aesthetic quality, great. If you want us to keep watching as shows start to step it up, you need to do that on some level. To me, it's it's not your limits, it's how well you work within them, first and foremost.
Yeah.
The creative use of the animation. There's episodes where I got more joy out of the animation in Seasons 1 and 2 than very many episodes later on. Discord's Chaos World. That's still one of the things
that's
that
definitely
makes
true.
Return of Harmony a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So I also found it good.
I also found it kind of fascinating. I know references aren't always the be all end all, but the way in which they did references in Season 2 and which ones they actually did were interesting. What other show out there with a younger demographic or even an older demographic in this day and age would you expect to reference Hercule Poirot, Doc Savage, and The Shadow all in the same season?
Sure.
Might be a step ahead of me on a couple of those, honestly.
Because it's you had Mystery on the Friendship Express, which was Murder on the Orient Express.
That's Murder on the
You had Read It and Weep, which I know a lot of people say Daring Do was inspired by Indiana Jones, but I saw that and I immediately thought Doc Savage. She's even bronze-colored, for crying out loud.
I actually, first time I saw Daring Do, I was besides thinking Indiana Jones, I was also thinking about like R.R. Tolkien or R.R. Martin, with her being a writer as well. But we first
that's
figured that
actually
out.
Something Indiana Jones does.
Yeah, I know.
But that part came later.
Yeah, that came later on.
Although, I mean, it does. Well, what do you say? Well, yeah, okay, that, you know,
Mhm.
about something that came later, so fine.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then with Ne'er-do-Well, like, I know a lot of people think spoiler when they see Ne'er-do-Well from DC Comics, but the costume with the wide brim slouch hat and stuff, that's the Shadow.
Yep.
And even the way there were multiple versions of them, you read the original pulps, the Shadow has this whole network, which is how he gets things done. So,
and if you really wants to go into references, there's also the super squeezy.
oh yeah, with the Music Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they went deep.
Man.
They dug deep for to be clever about those sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really great, yeah.
Or maybe also a little with Hearts and Hooves, say with the love poison, with Romeo and Juliet already there a little bit. I don't know.
I can see that sort of.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm going way too far.
Calliope also just mentioned in here the how it expanded on holidays and history. So of course that's also the season we got our first Christmas / 4th of July episode with the Heartswarming Eve.
Yeah, Heartswarming Eve is nice.
True statement.
It's a good episode. Really wholesome.
I guess it's Christmas, 4th of July, Columbus Day, and Cinco de Mayo. All the sort of holidays almost rolled into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can compare it to a lot of things. I mean, and yes, chat, we do understand that it's Christmas first and foremost.
Christmas! Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Christmas yet. No. I apologize.
What are you, a department store?
Yeah, well, it's already started here. So,
Same here.
So, like 3 months in advance.
Christmas comes earlier every year. It's actually legit starting to swallow up Halloween now. I didn't think it would happen. It is.
Well, I mean, Tim Burton got that ball rolling, but...
But is
everyone else is catching up.
Yeah.
The heartwarming episode, it comes back a lot. The whole, we lose our faith, the Wendigos will consume us if we drift too far apart.
Yeah, I like that, moral that we have to, stay together and have this, stories to tell.
You could almost see that whole idea as a very religious kind of message in a way, couldn't you?
Yes. Yeah. If you take it far enough, I guess.
Oh, the show did get pretty religious about worshipping the concept of friendship, I will say.
Yeah, but they also had the episode. They also had that episode later on with where the young main six hold their different kinds of Christmas. So I guess they're not that.
The student six, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Differences.
And of course also the Pinkie Pie episode where Twilight tries to read her whatever.
Starlight?
No, it's Twilight.
Oh yeah, that get accused of being a push for religion, which...
Yeah, that's...
Oh, but that was back in season 1.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what we
missed it.
Look, Mom, I'm a critic! I identified on this episode is religion.
Yeah. But while we're waiting for episodes, I would say like Canterlot Wedding is one of my favorite, two-parters of, the show in general. Like, there's other great two-parters, but I like the Canterlot Wedding. Not just because there's a beautiful song, but also I like the, story with it. And, of course, I like Sombra as well, so that helps.
Crystal Empire Sombra.
Oh, it's a Crystal Empire? No, I'm messing
Canterlot
up
Wedding
again.
is Queen Chrysalis.
Oh, well, that's good too.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
am
that
I messing up with that again? I'm so sorry. It's been a while, you guys. I'll just hide in my corner.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm
Get me out here.
just a little bit giving into preference the way I'm technically not supposed to here, but can't deny
It still
that
has
it's
a
one
good-
of my favorite things to come out of
Yeah.
the show.
It still has
My
a
very
beautiful
favorite.
song, and now we have somebody special to sing it. Gilbert Godfrey sing it at BronyCon.
This is true.
Yeah,
Oh, that
I
was
still
pure
remember
glory.
that. Yeah.
All right. So how we doing here? Calliope says they also reference that. Okay, yeah, she keep forgetting we're a little time discrepancy in all of this. All right. So yeah, season 2. Anybody have favorite or least favorites to talk about?
Well, I said the candle where's
Harmony, love mystery on the mystery on the Friendship Express.
it's okay.
Oh well, it's not so much an episode as it is part of an episode. There was the last roundup, I believe, which not so much that whole episode, but rather something that happened at the beginning and was later altered.
Mm,
We all remember Derpy.
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, surprisingly, like, she became less a point fans cared about as well going on.
Mm.
I mean, didn't she?
It's like, it's weird. Like, as soon as the show does it, the fans stop caring. It's weird.
Mhm.
I mean, or arguably, I guess that was.
Mm.
In some cases.
Well, I mean, like, heck, once they pushed back on it, then the fans really, really cared. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, you could argue what it was when the whole thing became a little less about, hey, look at all the unusual stuff we can do with this concept, like, and just more, look at all the fan service and, like, the references and the, like, look at how much we give our fan base what they want.
Mm. I'm fearing for saying which one I least like because, like, then we're going to go on a discussion that's going to never end.
Hmm.
This is the talk that doesn't end. Yes, it
So-
goes on. Okay, what is it?
Baby Cakes, I don't like it, and I know Second likes it.
Love it! Hear the enthusiasm or the moral that
Here we
wants
go.
to make its point in such a go for broke comedic yet also sincere way. I love when they can pull off a balance like that.
I apologize, everybody.
Love that it made Mr. Enter mad just for having a diaper change in it.
Anyway,
Heck with you, dads almost never get to be good
Oh,
dads
that's
that way
true.
without it being played with comedy.
but why does it have to be
Okay,
with the mouth, though?
Yeah, because that's how these ponies
Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Well, they grab things with their hooves in other episodes with other things, but whatever.
Be grateful it
okay.
wasn't how dogs change diapers.
Oh,
Now then, you may all in the chat and wherever begin telling me that I'm insane and that I should realize that episode is an abomination.
well, like it's not because I think it's that bad. It's just like there's things in it that I maybe don't get as good as you. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's small baby ponies and like I don't know. It's wrong. I just feel like they're a little bit too overpowered, as it is, and two, like there's some things that happens, like you said, with the diaper chains and other stuff in the episode where I'm a little like, oh, okay, this is it's weird, but yeah, it's okay, right? It's going to be fine. It's not like in the other episode, I forgot what it is, but where there's this pie that Rainbow Dash is diving into, that's nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I just
That's much later. though.
I have a thing with like humor like that. I don't get it. I just think it's a little bit too much for me. But I appreciate Pinky in the episode. I will give the episode it has a good moral, and it actually made me feel for Pinky in the last couple of minutes it had with like her trying to make them laugh and all of that good stuff. But yeah, elsewise I think it was a little bit too much for me, actually. I don't know how to explain that.
Hey.
I would
true genius is never appreciated in its day.
Yeah,
I would think the slightly more controversial one that people keep bringing up from that season is Dragon Quest.
Oh, Dragon Quest, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there, I'm a little more on the Backlash's side.
That's the one where Spike is dressed and gives out cookies and stuff like that, and goes on a quest for seeing if he's a real dragon.
Spike goes on his journey of self-discovery and falls in with the bad crowd of dragons.
Oh yeah, and they try to break the egg of the phoenix and stuff like that.
I mean, it already
Right.
seemed like Spike was getting
Wow.
no respect in his own episodes, and honestly, the episode that did it first and did it worst for me was actually Secret of My Excess, but yeah, Dragon Quest doesn't help. Like, double down on the whole, like, season 2 seemed to have this thing going out, dragons are just born bad, and Lauren did say she intended them as, like a stand-in for people who hate on, ponies without giving them a chance without watching them, so, okay, well, the one time I might side against her, because it seems like you're less giving any insight there and more trying to lob tomatoes back, and you're throwing a character who I think a lot of people really appreciated, like, for what he was, under the bus a little bit.
Yeah. And at least Secret of My Excess turned into a Godzilla episode by the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Dragon Quest didn't have
nothing will make me cringe harder than Spike trying to pressure ponies into giving him gifts, and then the whole, like, well, okay, maybe, well, wait, he's not, like, that bad, we'll work him back, Twilight snaps him out of it, he comes to his senses, it's a problem, but we're gonna have a great character developing episode on it, and then he turns around and, like, the second Twilight leaves and said, who else has a present for Spikey Wikey? Like, nope, that's totally the route we're going with. Like, we're totally,
But
head down the Kool-Aid.
And it took them several seasons to retcon that whole thing in a way.
I think like it's a really good message actually to give, younger people with the greed being, if you put in other stuff instead of greed, like addiction to something, maybe, and then look at the episode, you will be like, okay, this is actually a good, thing to tell, like, you shouldn't be too greedy, quote unquote. Yeah. Well, like, it's, a kids show can't go like that far into that stuff. But what makes
you, Calliope, G1 My Little Pony did.
Well, yeah,
or
I know,
Omni,
but
you both actually come to think of it.
We know. But if it can't talk about parents' death, it can't talk about like abuse and stuff like that either. Agreed. Well, like it's more like what it's representing with like Spike getting all of the gifts, quote unquote, and getting a lot of greed happening and stuff like that. What I don't like about the episode is Rarity stopping Spike when he actually wanted to say how he felt for Rarity, and like just make it, over, instead of still stringing him along with stuff. But I definitely feel like showing that greed can be a problem for you is an episode that we need more than the other one, I guess.
Which, more than what other one? Dragon Quest?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I could go in circles on that forever, but alright.
And sorry if I became a little too dark with the greed being a substance or like anything you could be addicted to, but yeah.
I'm sure people like
Whatever.
metaphors like that, and shows have tactfully addressed that before, but
Again.
I think you pointed out in Baby Cake she thought maybe Pumpkin had a little too much control over her magic, which...
Yeah, I agree. I agree with
they
it.
didn't establish her as any kind of prodigy that way. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just interpreted it that the magic will, like, randomly flare up. They'll, like, randomly get a jolt of power, but, like, yeah.
They don't have control of it when they're babies.
Yeah, well, I mean, like...
That's what you're saying.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I took it to mean when I saw that the magic will come and go, just like you'll like a new battery that randomly gets a spark, but like, if you have all that power at once, then
we don't know how magic works.
The problem.
Yeah.
But what was the episode? I didn't look in season. Well, season says a little bit, but Friend Indeed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, with Cranky.
With Cranky, yeah, I agree with you there. That wasn't a pleasant episode. It was too much.
Love that episode all the way to the end of the Smile song, including that first shot with Pinky face to face with Cranky, because you know exactly what they're gonna do in that shot, and it's just such a perfect, strong image. You're like, oh yeah, okay, let's see how Pinkie Pie is just such an unstoppable ray of sunshine that not even this cynic can resist. Instead, they actually put us on his side with all the, like, aggressively unfunny Pinkie Pie gags. Like, holy heck, Amy Keating Rogers, what happened? Like that.
Well, it's also like, yeah, but it's also like to show like you can, of course, be a little too much if you try to like do things that others don't want to have happen to you. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's a little much, but I also like the Smile song and stuff like that.
That's still an all-time great moment.
And now I in later episodes I became to like Cranky a little more, but in that episode he's just like weird.
Honestly, I thought he was fine for what he was in that episode. The problem is that I'm on his side through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's true.
A whole episode about Pinky chasing that ass. Someone was going to say it. Or not, but I did.
Thank you, that's all, folks. No, I'm just kidding.
Another one, yeah. Clappy thinks G1 Spike Search did the same concept as Dragon Quest better, and I 110% agree. Because that episode is actually about that version of Spike sort of coming into his own and finding himself, and I mean, Spike, G4 Spike still gets to take a stand like he does, but it's not like, hey, dragons suck and need to be redeemed by being taken in by ponies and tuned, and like some people said that, well, maybe what they mean is that like, it's like whatever the other thing they referenced was, where, okay, your nature might point you one way, but then like overcoming the bad things that makes you inclined to do just makes you that much better, and instead they just kind of, like, the show almost got embarrassed with us for itself and, like, subtly eased out of the concept. Right.
Oh yeah. How many, I have a question. How many seasons are we going to talk about because like this takes a while.
Alright, it's taking a little bit. Alright, let's do 3 and 4 real quick and call it a day. Or
3 should
Wow.
quick
be
anyway,
easy.
because I don't know. Well, okay, actually.
Yeah, only can we just
Controversial.
Three's
season
hardly got any
3 and
episodes in
then
it.
You what?
done.
3's hardly got any episodes in it. That should be easy.
Alright, so
Yeah.
shall we close on 3?
Yay! 1, 2, 3. Ah.
Alright, I thought 3 was by far the worst season at the time, and I, had heard people giving the whole, oh, they're just overreacting to a sequel that changed things up a little bit, and, like, watch, I'll prove to you how season 2 and 1 had the same problems, and I never agreed with or saw any insight to those points, even a little bit, and I kind of actually thought, I mean, like, the whole, my thing before about, yeah, unformulaic characters, inserted into otherwise formulaic plots, I thought season 3 started the trend of dropping that with like, okay, no, let's change the characters to fit the formulaic plots, not fit the formulaic plots to fit the characters. Like Applejack is in a plot about overdoing it, knowing when, like, enough is enough and too much isn't necessary. Up now suddenly Applejack is an aggressively in-your-face, obnoxious person, for lack of a better word, who must shove her preconceived ideas on you at all time, and everything you try to say to her in return goes in one ear and out the other.
Mm.
And I, to an extent, wondered how, like, if people saying, oh no, it was just as good if they, like, were full heck, I was still clinging to the non-Baroni label at the time, but I
Mm.
wondered if they really fully got, like, everything from the first couple of seasons that was making people gravitate towards it so strongly. And that said, season 3 did not stay my least favorite season, because where other seasons maybe lost some of their sense of inspiration the same way, season 3 did still deem to absolutely hit it out of the park on a few occasions. Like,
Mm.
what, Look Before You Sleep, fantastic, Keep Calm and Flutter On,
Look before you.
still fantastic, I thought. Like, I thought that is both one of Discord and Fluttershy's finest hours. And Too Many Pinkie Pies may just be my favorite Pinkie Pie episode, period. And I
I
kind
look.
of consider Pinkie Pie as possibly the single best when she's good, because she's, to me, the show's, like, true original creation a little bit. Like, we've had, I mean, Rainbow Dash, you could argue she's done possibly one of the best as these tomboy characters have ever been done, but we don't, or Twilight, or Rarity, whoever, but we really don't have another Pinkie.
Mm.
So, season 3 is like, I mean, just for the pure extreme ends of the spectrum it finds itself on, it's like jaw-droppingly good and bad at times.
By Look Before You Sleep, do you mean Sleepless in Ponyville?
Thank you.
Yay.
Sleep, I think, is a little underrated, but yes, Sleepless in Ponyville is what I mean.
Mm.
Yeah,
Fantastic
the Scootaloo episode.
And would you look at that? There's my the episode, the episodes I was talking about with Sombra. Yay! There it is.
Empire, I think, was a bit of a dark omen of what was to come with the whole. Hey, okay, Twilight has to. This is Twilight passing a test, so let's treat it like a test. But each stage is just the next obstacle for Twilight to pass, and even the songs sound like forced educational songs. Like you could images of teachers like trying to rap their material to their kids over that song. Oh, we have to get this right. Oh, we have to make them see. And it, like, I mean, like, yeah, picture a teacher pointing to different parts of a chalkboard with a pointer on that line. Yeah, we can save the crystal ponies with their history.
Yay! Well, it's nice to get some education now and again, right?
Although, I mean, that song, well, although, that's even so, I mean, I still kind of like that song. The song I think is the worst song the show ever did is the failure song of all the sing-song, time-wasting, pointless excuses to sing that in no way justifies its existence with anything whatsoever, because that is the first song I, like, in possible, maybe not in any show ever if I thought hard enough, but that's, like, possibly the first that I'm confident I could have both written and performed better.
Oh, really?
Well,
Okay.
performed in the sense that Twilight
We-
has nothing to do
We
with
gotta
it
see that.
except pedantically go through
No.
all of the lines like
We want to see that.
not prepared for this. Oh, I da. But I wasn't prepared for this.
Yes, sure. You just
For the
gotta
quality
do
of my
that.
voice, because I am
No,
will in
yeah,
any sense be comparable to Tara Strong, so maybe I should step back and just say confident I could have written better, but
Aww.
holy heck, like,
That's
holy
so-
heck, that is, like,
song
brick
is
to the face bad, that song.
Well, Tara Strong doesn't actually do Twilight singing voice, so
yeah, that's true.
I think I forget her name, but I think it's Sunset Shimmer's main
Yes.
voice actor.
I think like you're right. I also forgot what she's called. But I really like that two-parter, and I know like there's a lot of people that doesn't like Sombra and don't like the, as you said, it can be a little too much with the stuff. But yeah, I just like the, for example, the fear door. It's still like it's one of my favorite, things that Twilight have to encounter and get over, because it just resonates with me, I guess, with like standing in front of your worst fears and still being able to, get by it, and and giving like it's a big thing for Twilight to give the power to Spike, or how to say that, with getting the crystal heart and stuff like that, even though she was told that she was the one. And there I think it breaks a lot of the things with, oh, she's the one, so she have to do it, or he's the one, so he has to do it. No, here it actually gives it to the sidekick that does it, and that's not seen a lot in movies or series, I think. Maybe that's just
I want
me.
to point out if Twilight had said no, I must do this, Celestia said it had to be me, then the fall of
Yeah,
the Crystal Empire would have been on Celestia.
Yeah, that's true.
But actually, I mean, no, honestly, I agree with a lot of what you said. Like, I think what still makes this episode pretty good in its own right is like, it might be kind of lackadaisical and like kind of blocky with the character-driven points, but the plot-driven points, I'd say it does really, really good. The ticking clock on King Sombra, and just like how intimidating he is when you have to face him. Like they play that so well. Like they let him out of the bottle for just a second. Like when they get there, it's just like walking into the danger zone, almost like it's the very short front hallway, and even then he almost gets them, and it's really scary and ominous. And then they're like, holy heck, that thing's outside. Like, ooh, we have a thin little bubble protecting us. And then, like, even before the clock is supposed to run out, he actually reaches it. It's like, okay, be afraid. Like, we're falling. We're not, like, it's not before we fall, we start falling. We're falling as we speak, as Twilight is on this quest. It's like the only chances for her to get this thing before we finish dying.
Yay! Oh, that was a Sombra impression.
Yeah, but who did it?
Yeah, that was
What?
fine.
That wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Bravo, Sombra, you do yourself very well. Very well yourself.
That sounds so wrong.
Better than the voice they wound up going with in season 9, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, season 9 was interesting is that they almost portrayed him as less like force of nature, monstrous, more like regal.
They tried to play up the side of him that he's on
And,
king.
Yeah, and I could see like how that could work, but
It's a weird voice to go with.
Yeah, it's a weird voice to go to.
I mean, I think like he might have had more momentum if they stuck with the voice he had when he was a pure shadow, but
Yeah. And the symbol words and stuff like that. But whatever, yeah. And would you look at that? My favorite episode again. No, I'll stop talking.
Magical mystery.
Yeah.
It's a polarizer. It really is.
Yeah, and I must admit, like I also really like the moral in this, and we get new magic and all of good stuff. I don't know.
I mean, like, I guess when push comes to shove with this episode, I'm on the hater's side. Like, I agree that everything that happens is unearned, and the solution is Yu-Gi-Oh levels of preaching the power of friendship, and the song self-congratulatory, and blah 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 blah. But I mean, honestly, as something that just like has absolutely no shame in being all of those things, like we don't. I mean, this is we're not crafting a 3-course meal here. We're going straight for the dessert. We're going for a full-course meal made out of dessert, made out of icing. No shame, more of it. Pour it on. Like we're, this is totally. Yeah, we're totally gonna celebrate ourselves. Celebrate the idea of friendship again and again till the cows come home. Like we want to imitate the feeling you get when you climb a mountain and swim a river to get through the beautiful, incredible, happy ending, except you don't have to do those things to get to it. We'll just enjoy that feeling nonstop for 20 minutes. Like, I can kind of see, honestly, the appeal. Like, even I can't deny that it does at times feel very, very regal, and I mean, at times, like, too much icing, I want to puke, but I mean, it's like, it's...
But she does go through stuff, like she helps her friends, and she's been like through all things since season 1, building up to this, so...
I mean, the helping, I don't buy it even a little bit, it's such a glorified season 2 conflict. No, this one's the most important. They lost their destinies. Their lives have been ruined because they're ruined, and we showed a couple of cutscenes of them crying. Yeah, this is the worst thing ever, and the only thing that can fix it is just being a true friend, just believing in the friend, just wanting to help so bad. Like, if you want to help so bad, you can overcome anything. Like Sempronius Densis wanting to save his emperor so bad just because he was that loyal to the Roman Empire that he took on literally the whole army of guards coming to kill him, and fought like a man, and ultimately fell. Well, he just didn't care enough, so, I mean, otherwise he would have won. This is the one true demonstration. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, at the same time, even if it props itself up as the important final step, it does nonetheless kind of have something to celebrate. We really have come a long, long way, and like the part with Celestia, where it incorporates that as part of what we're celebrating, is legit beautiful and amazingly done. And I mean, and yeah, Twilight, even without this supposedly perfect final step, does kind of deserve to become an alicorn. She did kind of have her episode growing up at the end of season 2. So, I mean, I totally see this as the self-congratulatory party made out of, whipped cream and frosting and love and hugs and unicorns and friendship rainbows too. But I mean,
it's a little too much for you.
Well, I mean,
it's okay.
So yeah, like I said, I mean, as a critic, I'm basically on the hater's side, but I mean, like, as far as whether I think it's honestly not something that can rightly be enjoyed, I mean, do I really think it's that bad? Am I really going to say, like, for this episode to say, don't enjoy it? I say...
It's a little too late.
Well, honestly, I say no, fight the real enemy. If I say what the real enemy is, I might turn people against me all over again, but I'm like, okay, admittedly, this episode
Spike at your service?
is a...
Yeah.
What? Come again?
Spike at your service?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's one of them.
But yeah, as this episode goes, even I will say, it's very memorable. It's a lot more interesting than a lot of other episodes that, including the one that came right before it. And I mean, having one of these just like a pure indulgence episode. I mean, I can only argue so much. Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess, and who am I kidding, as polarized as the reception is, I mean, more good feeling equals better, it seems to have won out, so, you win this round, magical mystery cure.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm the only one, but I actually freaked out when Twilight got all of the powers from the necklaces, because I actually thought that she was dead. And she went to the afterlife. So I was bawling my eyes out, crying. I remember being alone, watching the episode, and I was just like, yeah, she gone. Like the season or the episodes have done it. Like we have a character death in the show. I was almost totally sure until Celestia started to sing, and then I was bawling even more, and then she became Elicon, and I was just like, oh, okay, everything is going to be fine. She's okay. I can, breathe again.
Emotions speak louder than words, and there comes a point at which that's not wrong. So
yeah, I don't know if I'm just too emotional person with the episode, but it got me good. What about Omni? Do you like it, actually?
The finale?
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if it had been the last thing we ever saw of the show, as they apparently were entertaining the possibility it could be as they wrote it, then I don't think it would have necessarily been the worst note to end on. I mean, maybe it could have been better, but
yeah,
everything. I mean, I love Last Problem is.
Yeah, but
I mean, to no fault of your own, just put the image in my head, taking away Last Problem and giving me magical mystery cure instead, and I'm going to press the off button before I get going on that one.
Oh well, okay. But yeah, I do agree.
Right. Heck, this season alone, I totally agree with the Calliope and Omni that Spike at your service is so much worse. And I like even less than that is One Bad Apple.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I stood up for the other bullying episodes. One Bad Apple is stomach churningly no for me. I get a little bit sick watching One Bad Apple.
Yeah. Well, it is One Bad Apple, so.
Babs herself, I don't think, is bad.
No, but that doesn't mean that the Crusaders owe her their self-respect. That she can do whatever they want to them, and unless they're able to tell Applejack and ready to tell Applejack, then anything they do other than take it on the chin is wrong. I'm sorry, self-respect is more important than your. To use the word politically correct, but I'm using it correctly for the record at the pseudo-politically correct. Oh no, you should be nice to your bully or else you are a bully. You should understand them even as they are mistreated.
It's not all bullies that understand.
I mean, understanding is something you should always be open to. Kindness,
of course,
something you should always be open to, but I mean, there's always a balance, and you do not, just as you would be appalled if you saw somebody else being treated that way, that somebody you cared about, and you would consider it totally unacceptable, you should consider it every bit as unacceptable for yourself. That is self-respect. And I'll get off my soapbox now, and I don't know.
But also, what the heck was up with Pinkie Pie in that episode?
Yeah, that was
I know she's random, but she seemed high as a kite in that episode for some reason. What was that lettuce thing made
yeah, Pinkie Pie, don't make your jokes while high on icing.
Yeah.
Or whatever that
salad.
Maybe it wasn't actually lettuce that float was made of.
Maybe she shouldn't toss her salad. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Right. So, but did I take time away from people wanting to, hit properly on Spike at your service?
No, I think I'm almost done here. I'm about to fall down.
Yeah, I'll just say that that one still stands out as the show's lowest point for me. Even with every other season taken into account, I can think of shows that episodes I didn't think were good from later seasons, yet Spike at Your Service still feels like that was the bottom of the barrel of the show for me. And it's weird. I don't exactly know why, because there are other episodes you can point to and say that they are worse for certain things. But I don't know. That one just felt so off.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I mean, I think I think it's been implied that it might have been a rush job, but I mean, the whole thing, it comes across, at least my spin on it is it's kind of just an excuse for these hijinks. Okay, Spike has a dragon code now. Hijinks bump him into Applejack, and well, he needs to do her eternal servitude because then he won't know if he's a noble dragon, and all of these logical ways to stop it don't work because then he won't know if he's a noble dragon. Yeah, okay, we don't buy that for a second. It's obvious you just want the excuse for these hijinks. So the only way I get what it lives and dies by is whether these are just really funny hijinks. That's
yeah.
And that said, I think that's some of the weakest comedy I've seen out of this show.
Yeah, because Spike got hit with a stupid stick, and everyone else got hit by the splinters as it shattered. So,
I mean, I'm not even I don't necessarily think that hamming characters up can't work. As much as I hate that this is the first example that comes to mind, but yeah, Rainbow Falls, for example, I think that that episode, it hammed the characters up, but it hammed everyone up as the general idea seemed to be, okay, this is just kind of a silly day, and it had wit and comedic timing and stuff. In Spike at Your Service, everyone else is still more or less themselves, and Spike is suddenly the character who you shove out onto the stage and leave doing comedy long after the audience has checked out and started booing.
That's true. I don't like the episode either. I think the defeating of the Timberwolf is one of my least favorite things.
Yeah, that was surprisingly gruesome.
Well, not that. I just thought it was too easy.
Well, I almost thought it should have been easier because the Timberwolves happened to be made of a substance that Spike made short work of exactly one episode ago.
If it could have burst some dragon flame on it, I would buy that more.
Yeah, but the episode was unwilling to admit that it swept that under the rug, so it had him throw a pebble at it, and the monster sticks and magic dies from oxygen. And what is up with this episode?
Yeah, but also the thing with Spike not being good at, for example, making food or making doing chores for Applejack when we have seen him doing chores for Twilight for so long. I think maybe the episode was thinking a little bit too hard about he's too infatuated with her because she saved his life, so now he are overdoing stuff for her, and then it becomes bad. But even if you're thinking like that, you wouldn't be doing that in real life. I don't think so. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's less whether it's perfectly logical than whether, or to me anyway, than whether the logic, the pathway from the setup to the punchline, so that both can hit where they're intended and.
Yeah.
Instead, I felt like it instead found itself in the territory where the joke was, "Hey, look, Spike is
stupid.
Yeah. I think like the only thing I thought was a little bit funny in the episode is like Spike doesn't buy the fake Timberwolf that's biting on Applejack's head.
Yeah, he's smart.
That is a little.
I think what was also funny was Rainbow Dash's solution. That's more like comedic. Ran yourself into a wall like Applejack. I've got a task that Spike will never do. He has to build a pile of rocks for me to smash through or something, and then he actually does it, and now she's stuck. Yeah, upholding her end of the bargain.
Yeah, or counting every thing in a every grass in a yard.
Nothing. I think the episode's single lowest point was like, wait, I will know if I'm a noble dragon. I need to help you with things that you don't know you need help with, like a massage or singing a song or breathing.
Yeah, that's.
You want to drop the curtain now? I think he's kind of scrambling out there.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, guys. I think I'm going off. So.
All right.
It was fun.
Okay. Well, how about 2 favorite and 2 least favorite episodes in all the seasons we've talked about, and then we'll head off to bed.
I already did that, so night-night.
Okay, for me,
Guess he's gone then.
Yeah, well, how do you like that? I get no respect in this relationship. Let us in, don't leave me. Now, Calliope, don't you start. You write your favorites, least favorites while I'm doing mine. Cutie Mark Chronicles with the main 6's backstory, and first episode in season 1, what was it in season 2? I can't remember. Canterlot Wedding, and what was it?
You said May the Best Pet Win, right?
Love May the Best Pet Win, but I think what's even better than that is Luna Eclipse. Like, Calliope was the season that did Luna, and that episode is so good it's even able to get away with the stupid, what is this fun joke? Like, every interaction she has with the main 6 is precious. The way, she's, has, a loud, proud, extrovert personality with a sensitive soul, great combination that works very well, and fantastic. And then, least favorite season 1, All's Well That Ends Well and Green is Intercolor, and season 2, I already said, Friend Indeed and Secret of My Excess. And then season 3, a big old blat to One Bad Apple and Spike at Your Service, and a big, rock on that was amazing to Sleepless in Ponyville and Too Many Pinkie Pies. Alright, your turn.
Let's see. Favorite from season 1. I would say.
Favorites, you can do 2.
Yeah. I do like Over a Barrel. I have a connection to it because it's one of the first ones I reviewed and stuff. And let's see, having a hard time picking another one. I'm torn between Sonic Rainboom and Fall Weather Friends, I think, actually.
Fall Weather Friends, this one that the more I look back on it, often ends up being my go-to for things to say about Applejack and Rainbow Dash, what I liked about them. When I first saw it, I was like, well, okay, I loved it, but it's just because the characters, the 2 big shots competing against each other, the head-to-head, it wasn't because of good writing per se. And in hindsight, it's no, you moron, of course it's because it did that concept very, very well.
Yeah. And I'm honestly not sure what I would call my least... Well, I guess my least favorite of season 1 might be Bridal Gossip, because it was, of all the episodes in season 1, it's the one we'd seen 1,000 times before. And hadn't really done anything new with it, really.
I don't know, the evil interest renditions were new.
Yeah, but if you want to do an episode about racial prejudice, which that's clearly what it was about, And the only way you can think to do it is to suddenly have all of your characters who believe in friendship and getting along and stuff suddenly become racist. I mean...
It's kind of a cynical opinion of the masses, but not
Yeah.
necessarily one I'm not sure the masses earns, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's, well, I guess, would it be fair to say that it's like, it depends on how weak is too weak for you to, or like, depending on whether you hate that episode or on it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's offensively bad, certainly. I've seen shows try to tackle far more complex topics and do far worse in the trying. But I just think it's like, for as much as we spoke about how season 1 was trying to go in new directions and take more risks, that's the one that took the fewest risks, and therefore it's the most cliche.
I guess, yeah, seems like we both have our picks for that. Mine's
Yeah.
green isn't your color, yours is right old gossip.
Yeah. Though to be clear, racism is still wrong. So, and let's see. I can't really think of, well, maybe bridal gossip, but also I kind of think in hindsight, the Showstoppers winds up being kind of pointless. Because that was this is what the Cutie Mark Crusaders will become episode, and all these years later, we now know not so much, but...
Yeah. Everybody accused it of being that at the time. I was like, I just said, like, pursue what you're good at, and showed how they weren't doing that, and...
Yeah, that part I'm okay with, but...
I almost just wish it had been like, oh, look at that, no surprises, we do what we did in this episode, because it wasn't huge on what we got instead, but maybe I should say less and not more on that.
Let's see. And as far as season 2, I agree with you 100% on Lunar Eclipse, but just to pick something else to make it seem less like I'm just riding on your coattails. Let's see. I thought Sweet and Elite was pretty good.
The first episode I ever saw.
Yeah.
Which did not win me over to the show, but I mean, it keeps growing on me. Like, that's sort of weird. He's one I refer back to a lot for good stuff about her.
Yeah, good showcase for Rarity. Good showcase of the Canterlot ponies. Introduced Octavia. Oh no, not introduced her, but brought her back. Yeah, Octavia was at the end of season 1. What am I thinking? And I think Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000 was a good one. Just because, I come from the world of theater. That references one of the most popular theatrical shows ever.
I did a minor in acting, but the Super Speedy, as in the play version of The Music Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, least favorite, Ponyville Confidential doesn't rank very high for me.
Darn it. Episode. I think that's M.A. Larson still in his prime, but not my turn. I'll shut up.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like... I don't know. I felt like it didn't quite come off at the end the way it fully wanted to. Because it was the whole... I think what's sort of knocking it down a few pegs for me would be that they kind of addressed that the Cutie Mark Crusaders were only giving people the gossip they wanted, but they didn't really fully touch on that. Because it's sort of like, I don't know, it felt like it was too one-sided by the end. If they wanted to present it as a little more complex, they probably should have gone the full distance, So,
as in, which part being complex?
But how, yes, the Cutie Mark Crusaders were basically making up stuff for a tabloid to cause drama. But at the same time, that's what everyone in Ponyville was eating up and demanding more of. So, but at the end, it's all the CMC's fault for some reason.
Well, I mean, it's never gonna be shortage of appetites for that stuff. I mean, I guess it's see that as like a it's yourself. Don't insist on preaching to the choir about how the world is so wrong for what it wants.
But I also can't think of another. And Dragon Quest as a weak one, but we already spoke about that.
I technically didn't pick that one though, so yeah.
Yeah.
Just not to leave it out.
We spoke about it.
I say like both that and even my other one, Secret of My Excess, maybe have enough redeeming factors so that I don't technically say thumbs down, whatever, that's a rabbit hole. I'll shut up.
Yeah. And for season 3, I'll try to be a little quicker on this one. Top ones would be Sleepless in Ponyville, and what else? Here I said I was going to be quick about it.
Wonderbolts Academy, Too Many Pinkie Pies, Keep Calm and Flutter On.
I guess Keep Calm and Flutter On, even though it did start what people would say the excessive trend of redeeming the villains, I thought it did a good job of that.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, Fluttershy and Discord playing off each other was good.
Yeah, I mean, about as convincing as you could be with that guy who, like, really gave no indication of redeeming qualities in his first appearance. They just kind of played it as like, yeah, okay, ball's totally in his court. If he likes it, it's on the table. And he's like, ha! These fools! Why would they possibly think I would like it? I mean, do I?
Yep.
Do I? Well, I thought that worked about as well as it could.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, obvious low point that we spoke about was Spike at Your Service. But I also think, like, the two intertwined episodes, Games